All right.
Here we go.
Hello.
Welcome back to an episode of the Merge Feast. This is a special episode, kind of in between seasons. So we'll introduce ourselves again. But my name is Blake, and here with me is Logan and Brandon. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Staying warm. That's what I'm doing.
Like it.
Trying.
Well, welcome back. It's been, what, 2 weeks since the finale? And I'm curious, as we've had some time to decompress, do you guys feel the same way about the season and the winner?
100%. Yeah.
I do. Yeah. With some time to think, still hands down my favorite season of the new era, and still happy with the winner and the results and everything that happened. I think 48 has a lot to live up to, honestly.
Yeah, I think the winner was well deserved and definitely the right pick. And I hope 48 is as good as 47 because it was a phenomenal season.
Absolutely. I think for me, I would agree. I still think this is my favorite season in a very long time. Um, I think I might have had some recency bias as far as like why I loved this season so much, but looking back, I, I truly believe the reason that I loved this season as much as I did is the pre-game or pre-merge game. That was that was the biggest difference for me because in every season there's been big episodes, flashy moves, maybe not quite the same level as this season, but that's been the biggest difference. And I think that's what I really missed. And I don't know that I quite realized it. And I know we vocalized that a little bit, but I don't think that's, I think looking back, I think that is the standout reason for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. I think when I look at this, what season 47, it's a complete season. It would be on the list of seasons I would recommend to somebody that's trying to get into Survivor.
Yeah.
You know, I
hmm
I have 5 or 10. There's obviously 47 seasons. I have 5 or 10 just kind of go to that I would recommend to somebody, and this one would crack that list. And I don't think any of the other new era seasons would. Maybe 45, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's solid season.
Definitely excited to see what 48 brings though.
I mean, this kind of leads into one of the things I wanted to talk about this week. But how does Survivor keep that up for pre-merge? Or is it just luck of the draw and we're willing to roll the dice? Or is there a way that you think production can kind of keep it fresh and keep the game flowing and not just stuck on, one of the three tribes?
I don't know. I don't know how they would do that. I feel like there could be some sort of, hey, if one tribe is losing all the challenges and having a ton of people voted out like they've done previously, is kind of make the tribes a little bit even again, just kind of retribe. And I don't even know if it's something that they do there where I don't know. I don't even think they could do it where they like every 3 days they like kind of mix up the tribes or like make it even and spread it out. I don't know. Doing something there, just keeping the tribes even and where everybody's having to play the game, because I think that was the biggest difference from this season to previous seasons. Up into the pre-merge, there were tribes that didn't even go to tribal council, and I think just keeping the game flowing and everybody playing is the biggest thing.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great point of planning tribe swaps. Even if I think honestly, even if the tribes are even, I think that's a good thing to do just to kind of really have the players lean into the social game pre-merge because there's Obviously, not a lot of interaction among all of the contestants before the merge. I think something that I see a lot of people suggest and kind of want, and I kind of agree with it because I think it would balance out the game a little bit more, is going back to two tribes. So there's a lot more back and forth. Obviously, you'd have two larger tribes, and there'd be a lot more to pay attention to. But I think you'd have I not often did we see in the two tribe format just one tribe absolutely dominate. It obviously happened, but
But does that hurt post merge gameplay where you don't have?
and that's the trouble. Is
I
does
guess it would be the same.
does adjusting pre-merge impact post-merge? Because a lot of what you saw pre-merge in the two tribe era was, okay, we are going into the merge with the numbers. It's 7-6. We're just going to take them out one by one and hope that nobody flips. Obviously, people flip, but you saw a lot of times where it was just, and even, I mean, we even saw it in the new era where one tribe came in and never went to tribal and then just destroyed all the other tribes along the way. So it's tough, but honestly, I think there's a lot you can do with the tribes, but I think it just comes down to like casting too, and making sure that you have a bunch of different type of players. You have players that are like big physical threats, big, strategic threats, big social threats, all that can balance each other out and kind of their somebody else's strength is someone else's weaknesses and vice versa.
And I think another thing I was just thinking of is I feel like they've done better recently, but challenges, not keeping them all physical to where if there's one tribe that has a couple of stronger guys on it or dominating, where they're some physical, but a lot of, I mean, they switch it up to puzzles, they switch it up to endurance, they switch it up to like challenges, where
or
it's
a
not all
combination.
right.
Mhm.
So it's not all one team dominated because they have a couple strong guys or whatever the case may be. And I think they've done better recently at that. But I mean, you're obviously going to have teams that have a standout in everything there. So I don't know.
I was watching a YouTube video of like old Survivor challenges that we'll never see again. Seasons like 1 through 20, and I know like you've watched them more recently than we have, Logan.
Hmm.
Some of those team challenges were brutal
Yeah.
physically. And like part of me wants to see some of that again.
I mean, one that comes to mind, I don't know what season it was, but they were kind of out in a muddy area, like wet and muddy area, and there's a giant platform, and two people get up there and just battle and trying knocking each other off,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going multiple times. So after you do it once, you're all muddy and slippery, and people falling off and just getting whacked, and like different things like that you just don't see anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they should bring that back.
Yeah. I would assume that a lot of it comes down to like insurance told us we can't do these challenges anymore.
Yeah.
Because some of them are brutal and cause
Hmm.
major injuries or just have the potential for major injuries. But
Yeah.
I do think, since we're on the topic of challenges, I do think that they need to come up with some better variety for the challenges. Because I know there's a lot of like the formula is the same. It's here's a physical element, then you're going to do a puzzle. Like I feel like sometimes it's okay to just have a physically demanding challenge and that be the end of it. Because I think the puzzles kind of put in there for the tribe that maybe isn't as physically gifted to come in at the back end and have a chance at the puzzle, because the brawn tribe isn't good at puzzles or whatever, you know.
Right.
Like sometimes you just got to lose a challenge. That challenge wasn't built for you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how much of the game is planned out ahead of time, as far as like, hey, we're doing this challenge this day, this challenge this day, this challenge this day, or if they would have enough time to switch it up, as a way to like almost, yeah, see, I don't like that idea. Never mind. Because I wouldn't necessarily want production to say, "Ooh, this side is running away with it based on the challenges that we had planned, so let's throw something else in there to give the other guys a chance." I don't really like that. So, hmm.
Yeah. No, I to your point though about the game being planned out ahead of time, I feel like I remember hearing Jeff or reading an article that Jeff was interviewed in, and him saying that everything that happens is planned out like beforehand. There's nothing that changes during the game. Now, whether or not that's we believe that is a different conversation, because I do think that there's like some situations that have happened where you're like, that seemed a little too perfect right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've talked about it before with Survivor specifically, of like, obviously production throws in twists and turns along the way, but they do a really good job of letting the players shine and letting the gameplay for the most part be what we remember, and not like, oh, production definitely interfered there and, you know, planted that idol for a player that was vulnerable. Like, I don't think that happens.
All right. So you've said multiple times this season, and kind of just now, that you don't like when production is like gets involved on those things, um, or has changes to the game. And I can't think of a couple good examples right now, and I'm sure you have a couple, but um, that kind of slightly steps foot into the camp of like, I don't like how the game has changed. Um, and I wonder where you're at on like throwing out different, back, what, season 1 through 20, when did they introduce like hidden immunity idol?
That was season 10, 11, 12, somewhere in
I
there,
was
right?
thinking 11, 12, or 13, right in there.
Was that Exile Island that they started doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would have been right in there.
So would you be against them switching up the game by adding a different sort of advantage, idol, like, or idols with twists? um I mean,
You,
they've done that a little bit and
I
evolved that idol into other things. So what are your thoughts on how the game has changed there?
so as far as advantages go, I think they're doing too much. And I mean, you saw it this season, like some players didn't want anything to do with advantages. They were like, that just feels like a negative to me. I don't even want that. So I think it would almost be better to do away with um like the beware advantage, even though that's fun, and journey advantages, and just kind of dial that back and go back to just planting hidden immunity idols at the beaches or at the challenges or whatever they want to do, so they're more discreet and nobody's really expecting anything and feels super vulnerable. Because right now I think Survivor in the new era, since it's 26 days, fast, everything's happening quicker. I think they've kind of overdone it and felt like we have to have all of this action happening because we don't have enough time. So we want to just be boom, 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 twists and turns, advantages, journeys, whatever happening all the time. And I think like just I'm not saying we need to go back to Survivor Borneo by any means, but like I think less is more sometimes. And I think just some of the things we saw this season was a good example, like the 3-way amulet that they just like, hey, we're just going to get rid of this because we don't want anything to do with it.
Mhm.
And I think even Rome, I don't know if he was talking about the amulet specifically, but Rome had said something that he basically told Jeff, like, hey, we think advantages are disadvantages. And like that never occurred to Jeff. So like maybe they'll think about that and be like, oh, maybe we're doing too much.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on there, because I do think that was, I mean, I think the biggest difference there, in even looking at this past season where we had multiple advantages or idols or whatever just kind of being thrown out there just to get rid of, but then you look at the two people that had idols that nobody knew about and how fun that was to watch and see how they use that and all. So with you saying that, I 100% agree with that. That I think less is more in some instances. Now I don't mind some of the twists and kind of different things there, but like you said, dial it back a little bit, because I think some of those things can still be a positive, but just not so much. And I think almost going back to just having idols and making such a drastic change might be a little weird. So dialing it back, see how it works, and then if they need to do more, go then.
Mm-hmm. And that actually, where are you guys at on the journeys? Do we like them? Do we not like them? Do they need to change something about them?
I feel like I liked it more this season than I ever have, and I don't know exactly what changed, but I think it seemed like they changed how you got an advantage. Like there were different ways to earn that advantage, as opposed to like how it was in past seasons, but also what some of the advantages were. Um, and maybe it was just the level of gameplay and the actual players this season, but I liked it this season more than I ever have.
I honestly don't mind them. I think the journeys that we had that were having to do a challenge, and if you didn't complete it, you lost your vote. Like, I don't want those back. Like, that's not anything I'm interested in. I think the ones where it's a fairly easy challenge, or one person gives up their vote and everybody else, like, you, whatever the case may be there. But I don't mind them. I think it's a great time to reach other people from the tribe as a like a social aspect from other tribes. And it's a way, if you're willing to risk going out and doing that and putting yourself in kind of a limelight, you should get something for it at least, or try be have the option for it. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with them.
Yeah. I think I overall like them, because I do think it's, like you said, Logan, it's a good networking opportunity to go and uh, kind of create a relationship with other tribes. But it's also a negative for you because you have to leave your tribe, and while you're away, your tribe could decide like, hey, we should just get rid of them. Um, then there's the whole like, I think my least favorite thing about them though, is like the whole routine of like, oh, I'm coming back from the journey. Do I lie to my tribe? Do I tell the truth? Like, I know they're all just going to be waiting for me. I wish there was like, and I don't think there's a solution for it. I wish there was like a way to kind of move off of that. And I don't know if it's sending multiple people from tribes to the journey, or you guys have any suggestions on how they could kind of fix that?
I mean, unless they sent, like you said, multiple people, but even something as, I mean, simple as the challenge that they have to do or whatever that is, and they read it's a requirement that they have to take it back to camp or do something along those lines. I mean, people would be like, "Oh, that's a fake one." I mean, I don't know, but doing something along those lines where it has to be communicated of what actually happened and like everybody knows about it and like that's for fact. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
What what if what if they just what if the rule was just straight up this journey, whoever goes on this journey, whatever happens stays with them. You cannot ask them about what happens or about what happened
Unless
on
they
the
tell you
journey.
about it, or
Even
do you think
then,
in
like
do- just
just I kind of like the speculation that could happen with that. Oh, what did they
Yeah.
get there? Like,
So would that be like a rule that they put in place for the contestants, and then do they tell us about it, or we just never see them ever talk about it, so we don't know who knows?
I think it would be I would be something where I think they would read it on paper and be like, "All right, you're going to a journey. You're gonna do this thing. Here's the catch, though. Like, what happens on this journey must be kept secret. You cannot tell anybody about it." But I don't know how easy that would be to enforce because I think you want to tell your allies at least. So it could just be one of those things like I just need to get over it. But I just always think the whole like coming back from the journey and having to explain or make a decision on whether or not you're going to tell the truth is always just kind of funny to me.
and like
I
you said,
kind of
no matter
thought,
what they say, each time they come back, it's always somebody's like, "No, they're not telling the truth," or it's just kind of the same thing. But
yeah, or as soon as they pull out an idol or an advantage, then it's like, oh, okay. But then everybody knows about it, which we don't like. One thought that I had, and I feel like Survivor doesn't like to get this specific, but um, if you get an advantage on a journey, make it to where like that person can't speak until like your next tribal council.
The person that goes on the journey,
Or like if your tribe loses and you get selected to go on a journey, maybe make it individual, and then you come back, if you get an advantage, or even if you don't, you just can't speak until tribal council. And if you do, and they catch you on camera, which they will because they catch everything, then you lose that advantage.
mm, yeah,
Could
that
get
could,
like a little dramatic and like, ooh, he
yeah,
write it
I,
down, or I don't know.
yeah. I think it'd be tough because then like I don't know if I would want to go into tribal council having gone to a journey and then not being able to talk about it. I would feel very vulnerable depending on what the advantage was.
and what happens if you go on the journey, you get an advantage, but your team doesn't go to tribal for two different?
Well, that's what I was saying. If it was just the individual and not like three different people going, um, like when Rachel went to that bar, was it Rachel that went to the barge and
Yeah,
had to
it
complete
was.
that puzzle? Like if she
Oh,
came back from
Yep.
that because they were going to tribal after that,
I gotcha.
if she came back and was like,
Yeah,
here's the piece of paper that says I can't speak until after tribal. I don't know. Because I wonder how much time is actually there. That may be weird, but I don't
Mm,
know. And back to kind of what I asked you earlier, Brandon, but the I I think taking a step back a little bit, maybe less things would be good, but I'm all for switching them up a little bit. Um, just some like instead of maybe the beware advantage, you, or some caveat like the beware advantage where it's like, hey, this is an idol, but you can't use it on yourself. It has to be played for somebody other than yourself, and to like build some camaraderie, I don't know, just little kind of twists and turns
Mhm.
like that I think would be kind of cool. Um, but
Yeah, I think the one thing that they've, because I don't want to sound like I'm anti-advantage, but the one thing that they've done really well with the Beware is keep it fresh. They seem
mm.
to kind of change up how it works every year. Um, so,
And how it is on each tribe, because
mhm,
not every tribe is the exact same.
yeah, I think my favorite version of the Beware Advantage was the first time they did it in season 41, where they had the code words uh, in all three tribes, and they like had to say some stupid sentence at the challenge with uh, the code word. That
That
was
was
great.
pretty funny. Yeah,
Wasn't
that
there
was.
also one where you had to like sneak into the two other camps for something?
Yeah, there was something like that.
I don't remember what that was, but that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, I like that. But I think I don't I don't think Survivor's ever gonna go backwards. Um, like I don't think they're gonna I don't think they're gonna dial back. Um, I think they're gonna keep pushing forward and find new ways and be innovative. Because that's why they've been around for 25 years. Is is because of that. Like they know when they need to change and update things. Because like if we were playing old school Survivor, still Survivor would not exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think it would hold people's attention week to week, like that are just getting into it. I think it would be if it was, I don't know, season 3 or 4 versus this past season. It's like this is way more fun and exciting, and like the short attention span that everybody has nowadays with TikTok and
mhm.
I mean just everything. I think it just has to.
so I know we're talking. Um, uh, okay, just lost my train of thought. It's contagious.
It's contagious.
um, I I want to talk auction
Okay.
because, and I don't want this whole episode to feel like we're like trying to diagnose Survivor and fix it because that's not what it is. But we got to fix the auction
Yeah.
because the formula right now is don't have the most amount of money left. So you have people spending $700 on milkshakes. Like, I know what the solution is, and it's just make the auction a reward challenge, and the auction is the reward, and there's nothing at stake. So, you know,
Could you get advantages just randomly based on what you buy, but you don't win
yeah,
or lose anything like
hmm
necessarily?
yeah, you can get a scroll on your fries like Rachel did. That'd be completely fine with me.
You just
But
don't
like,
lose your vote if you have the most money left.
exactly, you're not losing your vote. You're not gonna bid on. You're not gonna hold out and hope that there's an advantage to bid on. Um, because I think the auction, like, to me, I don't think it needs to be this like high stakes thing like they've tried to make it out to be. So I think just
So would you have everybody start with the same amount of money, or do you like where they run through the forest kind of collecting those things?
that them going and collecting the money, I think is super fun. But I think if the formula is like it doesn't really matter, then going and collecting that money is kind of pointless.
Do you think for the amount of items that they have up for auction, do you think that should be known? That way it's not everybody like, how many items do we have left? I just need to spend my money so I actually get something and raising the prices on things.
Mm.
Or do they say, hey, we have 12 items on the board. We're going to go through all 12. At the end of it, if you have money left over, like You don't like. There's no big deal. Like you either just give it back or you lose it or whatever.
Yeah. What if they even mentioned, along with how many items there were, hey, there's also randomly, you don't know what it is, I don't know what it is. There's 3 advantages planted in these items. So make sure you bid
Yeah.
and give everybody incentive to get into those, bidding wars, just to keep it interesting. Because my fear with the auction, because we've seen it twice now in the last couple seasons, 3 seasons, is that it's not gonna stick around because it's not really good TV.
In that sense, if you're gonna, hey, you've got advantages in these items. Let's start the bidding. If it's gonna go that way, I almost feel like the starting dollar amount all needs to be the same. Because as soon as you have somebody with $600 and somebody that has $300, like that $300 person, if everybody else has more than them, they're never going to get it because everybody's just going to jump to the highest. So they make sure they get that. So say, hey, everybody starts out with $500. That's it, and or maybe there's some extra money in the food item. Like you get that along with it, so you get more to go. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, I feel like they're, like you said, Brendan, they're trying to make it a big part of the game, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a part of the game. Like it almost just included in there because it's fun. It's good TV because it's fun and wholesome, and you get to see funny moments, people biting into disgusting fish eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be like game breaking and, oh, you get this advantage if you play it this way, and you lose a vote, you're punished if you don't spend all your money, and like,
Yeah.
just leave it simple. The nostalgia factor is enough, and it doesn't have to be the whole episode. The fact that we have 90-minute episodes now, make that 10 minutes of
Yeah.
one and interject it in between 2 challenges, and you're good to go. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. I just don't overdo it. It can be incredibly simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it goes back to like they're making, you know, every decision that you make in the game has some sort of risk or consequence attached to it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if the auction needs to have that like that.
Would you bring back, well, so I guess the big question, we've talked about it a little bit, but if they came to you, Logan, and said, hey, you are head of production, you can make whatever changes you want for next season, from idols, advantages, switching them up, taking them out, like whatever you want to do, would you change anything? And if so, what would you change?
Um, I don't know if I would change a ton. I mean, obviously we've talked about some changes that we would like to see or whatever that looks like in this episode, but I honestly think that the the twists and some of the things are great. I would remove the chance of losing your vote. I just don't think that should be in the game, um, and like keep that out of there. But I think they do a pretty good job of keeping like rewards and challenges fresh and different. Um, they do great food items, and I mean, everything seems to flow well there. And what they've done with 90-minute episodes, and I mean, I think we've seen a lot of positive changes in the past few seasons. Um, so I don't feel like it's a ton of major changes. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel on it.
So for me, I'm actually with you. I wouldn't make massive changes because I think the game's in a really good spot. I would change a couple things. One of them is like a viewership, and like it's from a viewership standpoint and just something that I was always interested in from like early days of Survivor is like spending time showing us the teams like building their shelter and everything that kind of goes into that. I know they kind of gloss over it sometimes, but like I feel like in older episodes we always kind of got those like silly little montages of them putting together their shelters, and I always kind of enjoyed those. So I mean, you got 90-minute episodes. You can do that in the first, episode of the season.
Real quick on that, I don't mean to interrupt you. And actually, I'll let you go because I don't want to. If you're gonna say it, I don't want to ruin it. So I'll let you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. But like the major change I would make in the game is, I agree with you, Logan, on the losing your vote thing. That would not be a thing on my season. But the merge before the merge, or excuse me, earning the merge, I would get rid of that. Like, merge or don't be merged. Like, we don't need to do this. All right, we're all on one beach for a challenge or two, and then we're merged, but we're not making, like, you don't make the jury. I don't like that. So for me, it's as simple as merge later or just have bigger juries, but get rid of the earn the merge thing.
Yeah, if you merged 1 week later, that would solve everything there.
Mm-hmm. And I don't have the solution for this, but I feel like they've got to shake something up at Final Four with fire making or something. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've, just put hours and hours of thought into it, but I've genuinely put thought into it and I don't know what it is. So, maybe it needs to be left alone. But no, my one big change would be getting rid of earn the merge.
Speaking of fire making, I know they didn't always do that, but they have done challenges like at tribal like that where they've had to build fire before they did the final four fire making, right? So like wasn't there ones where if two people tied on the votes and like they had to build fire there?
I don't remember the context, but I feel like that happened. I don't remember what happened, but I remember two people. Oh, I know what it was. Uh, I believe it was. Do you remember Stephanie and Bobby John?
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was that season. Their tribe, the other tribe, did not lose pre-merge, so their tribe got absolutely destroyed. And I'm fairly certain it was down to Stephanie and Bobby John, and they made them do a fire making challenge, and loser was voted out, and winner made the merge. Does that sound
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
I
That was
think
actually
that's
a season that we recently watched, and yeah, that was correct. They had to do a fire making. Stephanie won, if I remember correctly. Now that I say that, but I'm pretty sure Stephanie won and went on. And
Survivor Palau.
mhm.
Sorry, but yeah.
But because I think Stephanie was on the island by herself for a full night. Like she didn't have anybody there with her. It was only her. And then the next day she merged with the other tribe after she was there by herself, but she was there all by herself that one night.
Did they ever do any other challenge other than fire making? And was it always to burn that rope? Because I feel like I remember there being some pushback by people when Teeny lost this past season, because they're like, it's not a fire making challenge, that's a rope burning challenge, because she clearly made the bigger, better fire, but the wind came and screwed it all up for her. Did they ever do anything other than the fire where you burn the rope?
Not,
Mm,
not that I can think of.
yeah, not that I can think of.
Hmm.
I think also it's just gonna bother me if I don't say it, but I think that season was Survivor Guatemala, actually, with Stephanie and Bobby John.
Okay, because Stephanie came back another season.
I think they
Yeah.
both did.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. But no, Blake, I don't know of any other challenge
Hmm.
like that. The only tribal council challenge that I can think of other than the fire making is like very early seasons where Jeff would have like the final five do a quiz. Like how well do you know your contestants type of thing.
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys on all of those things. There's a couple other ones that, if I could wave a magic wand. One, I think, I don't know how they'd ever do it, but having some sort of a live season like Big Brother does, I think would be so cool. Especially if the audience could vote on who to give advantage on the next like challenge to. I don't know, little things like that they do in Big Brother. I think would be fun, even if it's for like a shortened 2 week long season that airs 3 nights a week for 2 weeks, like in the summer or something. I don't know. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I think tribe swap pre-merge more often just to switch things up. Not too much, but more than what they're doing now. And then I would love to see some behind the scenes stuff on like how they set up challenges. And even if that's like CBS puts that out on YouTube, I think would be cool to see, but showing us more shelter building, like you said, Brandon. And then in challenges, showing us more of the team selection and strategy talk, I think would be really fun to see. And the couple times we have seen that, um, it's I've really enjoyed watching that. So I think that would be cool. And there was once this episode where um, they like talked about when they did the schoolyard pick and then didn't show us the schoolyard pick. I was like,
Yeah.
wait a second, like that. I want to see that. I want to see how that you know, got shaken up. So seeing some of that stuff, I think would be a needed change. But other than that, I don't know.
Thoughts on bringing back luxury items? I only say it. It's not like a deal breaker for me, but I think having the luxury items was a good way to kind of like understand the player's personality and what's kind of important to them. Like people like literally Vesepia, who won season 4, Marquesas, her luxury item was a journal, and the entire time she's like just journaling everything that's happening, everything that people tells her, and was like a huge reason why she won. So like Colby bringing a flag, or I can't remember the lady that brought a ukulele.
Mhm.
Just have a little personality around camp, I guess.
Yeah.
Speaking of live feed, live reunions. Bring back live reunions. Like, don't read the vote on the island. Let us all wait and anticipate what's happening. Do a live reunion.
I like the live reunions. I miss them. I think, and because then you get to see all of the cast, not just the pre or like the post merge. Like you get to see everybody again, which I think would be fun.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if they did the same thing as that what they're doing now, but shorten it and it's 5 minutes. Like, hey, what does everybody think? What was your favorite moment of the season? All right,
Mhm.
join us next week or join us after commercial for the live reunion.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would do that, but
Well,
I
yeah.
guess
Well,
I guess you're reading the votes, so never mind.
I think I like because I know Jeff is like, oh, we like to do it right here because everything it's it's raw, it's fresh, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I think you just like to do it there because then you just get to be done with it. But I like the players getting to watch the season, have some time to like understand what happened, maybe stir up some drama. Could you imagine a live reunion for the season 46 cast? That would have been fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So like have people have give the players time to reflect, and then just kind of see where everybody's at and then read the votes.
What
Because
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say because the live reunion or the reunion they do now, it feels too much like a tribal council. It feels like an extended tribal council almost.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that.
And like you said, have let people reflect on the season and kind of get their grasps. And because I think sometimes the jury can be a little bitter there. And I mean, some of those first seasons when they were doing the live reunion, you would see them come back and two people that had some beef in the season or just didn't get along, like, hey, like nothing against you, like I like
Mm-hmm.
we've agreed, like everything's good, and kind of fixed things there. And I think you could see that more rather than some of the jury being so bitter. But it seems like for the most part, after everybody's voted and everybody, like, the winner's been picked, it's been decent. Like, it's not anything too, like, people still being angry there. But
Yeah. I kind of wish they would show us more of Ponderosa and the jury, even just their kind of reactions after the fact, and like, oh man, I can't believe they did this move, or I can't believe this person didn't play the idol because I know they have it, and I don't know. I wish we would get to see a little bit more of that.
Oh, I'm with you. Ponderosa, or even like, I know they sometimes show deleted scenes, but just more like if they don't want to do live feeds, I think, hey, here's some stuff that didn't make the episode, and just here's a 10-minute YouTube video. Check it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. There's been a couple of those like that get leaked. Was it was Kyle? I think when he was talking about, maybe it did make the episode, but I think it got leaked beforehand, where it was him talking about why he doesn't eat like any live animal, or like hasn't, I forget, is he vegan maybe, but I don't know that that made the episode, the full clip of that, and I saw that online and I really liked it. What are you guys' thoughts on bringing back returning players? Not a full cast of returning players, but 1 to 5.
I think um there's two formulas that worked really well for that. One was fans versus favorites. They did that twice. I think it worked really well. I think, well, actually, the first fans versus favorites, you could make an argument was the best season ever. Or it's top three at least. I'm talking about Micronesia, the one that Parvati won.
Mm.
Blood versus Water as well, where a returning player comes on with a family member.
Mm.
I think that could work really well, but I'm always for returning players. Like I wouldn't be mad if they did a returnee season every 3 seasons, honestly.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And even if it was, hey, there's 3 tribes and one of the 3 tribes are returning players,
Mm-hmm.
like the other 2 are new players, and then I mean you're kind of competing against them, but you're not competing against them. Like, you're not necessarily teaming up with them because they're on a totally different tribe, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Why do you think they got away from that? Because they haven't done that in a very long time.
Returning seasons.
Yeah.
Um, well, they did Winners at War. That was the
Which
last one,
was season 40, right?
season 40. Yep.
And they haven't done it since.
They haven't done it since. I think the reason that they haven't done it, obviously, like new era. I think that they wanted to let the new era shine rather than bringing in returning players. And let the new formula, because none of the players from season 1 through 40, they played a different game if you really look at it. So it'd be like kind of weird if season 43 was a returnee season, and we still don't really have a good grasp on how the new era really works at that
Yeah.
point. So I think it's just timing. And I
Do you
think
think season 50, because it seems like season 50 they're going to have returnees.
I think season 50 will be a 100% returning player cast.
Do you think it'll all be new era?
I mean, you just started a new episode, I think. So I've actually thought about that a lot, because part of me feels like it should only be new era players, but then the other part of me is like, it's season 50. We got to have a celebration here.
Right.
And there's a lot of players from season 1 to 40 that I think deserve a chance to come play again that haven't had that opportunity. And what better time is there than season 50 to do
Yeah.
that? So I think for a while I was like new era only, but I'm completely open to the fact, or to the idea of anyone can come play.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think it should be a season 50 theme, but season 53 new school versus old school.
Yeah.
I'd
I
be
could see
interested to see how some of the old school players play in the new school era. I think could be some players that do well, but I wonder how some of that would translate and like the pace of the game and how that all's changed. I wonder how that would kind of look, but I don't know.
Yeah. It'd be cool to see season 49 be all like returning new school,
Mm-hmm.
and then 50 be everybody.
Yeah,
But
no, I agree. Because I mean, there's so many different themes that you could do. You could do, you know, a bunch of players that took second place, or a full season of, I don't know how interesting this would be, a full season of first boots. Just
yeah.
Jelinski and Francesca.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of different ways you can go.
That would be really interesting.
That would actually be kind of funny.
Well, if they did that, it would just be, who are you? Like, that's like, I don't know if there's a lot of juice to it, is the problem.
Yeah. It'd almost be like just a brand new players.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will say for Jelinski, like, there's never been a first boot that has had the staying power that he's had. Like, I usually forget about him immediately, but that guy's, I guess, only 2 seasons, but still, like, I feel like I'm gonna remember him forever.
I was going to say season 45, another memorable one. I could not have told you who that was. It was Hannah.
Oh, it's Hannah, yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't have told you.
Yeah. I this season was John,
Yeah.
but yeah, it just, the only reason I remember Francesca, I believe I actually think she did play twice. Like, I think she got to be on a second chance this season, maybe, but Philip, the former federal agent, if you remember him, he could not say her name. He kept calling her like
Oh, yeah.
Francesca, like, just couldn't get it.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Gosh, I'm going back right now looking at like season 42,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't.
That was a good season.
It was a good season, but I don't remember like half of these people.
Marianne won that.
Yeah,
Is that her name? Yeah. I remember actually I could not stand her the first half of the season, but she grew on me.
yeah. There's just a
Jonathan,
couple people.
Mike.
Yeah, I
I
like
think his name was
Jonathan.
Mike.
Yeah, Mike Turner. Was it Romeo? Was third
Romeo.
place.
Yeah. Is it with like Drea?
Escobar. Who?
Is Drea in that season?
Yeah,
Yeah, Drea. I remember her.
yeah. Drea, Chanel. Chanel's gone on to do the challenge, I think, a couple
Okay.
times, but like Jenny Kim,
Mm.
Zach, who was second out, he was from St. Louis. Like
Zach
I don't.
Wartenberger.
Yeah,
He's actually kind of another like early boot that is still somewhat relevant. You kind of see him. I think he does some stuff with Rob has a podcast.
gotcha. Yeah, gosh, I don't remember half of those people. Roxroy.
I remember Roxroy
Yeah.
because, yeah, that's a name.
Huh. I don't know. Been a lot of good seasons, a lot of fun. I'm excited.
Yep.
What's next? I mean, I think that's pretty much everything that I have for this week, but um Brandon, what does our schedule look like? Are we taking another week off and we'll be back in 2 weeks again? What are we thinking on that?
Yeah, I think we'll look for another episode on the 24th of
Cool.
January.
Perfect. Well,
I like it.
appreciate you guys tuning in, and you will hear from us again in 2 weeks. Hopefully we hear from you before then. Because that email is still open. And I guess, Brandon, we should have checked. I assume that we don't have any
Yeah.
emails.
I didn't look, but I'm assuming no. Oh, wait a second. We got to read these because they're from your dad. Got 2 episodes from, or 2 emails from Jim, I think regarding the final episode because they're both from December 20th. So let's read those real quick before we get out of here. So, first one I'll go, and hopefully we can remember this. But question: do you guys like the way they did the final episode being right there, or did you like?
I think he's talking about the live tribal versus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or did you like the? Oh, we kind of talked about this, so this works out. Or did you like the older episodes where they revealed it in Hollywood or wherever they had a big audience? I think we all agree that we kind of like the big, extravagant. Jeff comes in on a helicopter motorcycle thing.
Yeah.
And they do it in Hollywood or wherever they're at. So that's the first one.
Yeah.
Unintentionally talking about it. We're good.
Yeah. Subject also from your dad, Jim. Wind. Do you think the wind comes up like that right in the middle of challenges, or do they have a fan over there blowing just to make it a better show? The way the wind came up and was blowing the fire, could she have moved to the side and blocked the wind a little bit, or are they not allowed to get out of the chair? So that's obviously referring to Teeny and kind of getting screwed over by the wind.
Yeah. That honestly, the second part of that question is actually a good question. No, I don't believe there's a conspiracy theory that they're paying some guy to, hey, turn on the fan and
Yeah.
blow out her fire. But it is a good question on the second part. Like, could she have stood up and tried to block the wind? Or was it just a classic case of Teeny being a day late and a dollar short and just not thinking of that?
I, I, I would imagine she probably could have done that and just never crossed her mind.
Yeah. It's a great question, though.
some of the rules of Survivor I would like to know or be privy to a little more. Like, hey, it's not against the rules for you to get up and move. Because like some of that stuff is talked about before challenges, before tribal. Like, okay, here are the rules if there's a tiebreaker. Because it seems like all the players know some of that stuff already. So they've clearly gone over some of the rules. I wish the audience was shared some of those rules when timing was appropriate, even if it was, Jeff breaking the fourth wall, after a challenge. Like, hey, by the way, they were able to do this or they're not able to do this. Um, might be kind of cool. Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
if anyone else has any questions or ideas, feedback, email us at the mergefeastpodcast@gmail.com and we will read your questions on the show just like we did here.
yep. Thank you, Dad, for emailing us again. You're a regular, top emailer. So perfect. Well, that's all I've got. Yeah. See you guys in 2 weeks. Say goodbye, Logan.
Goodbye, Logan.